The Mouse Who Built a Sandcastle. Once upon a time, not so very far from here, in a land where the gentle breeze always carried a hint of salt from the sea, and the sun painted golden stripes across the sand, there lived a tiny mouse named Marlowe. Marlowe was not just any mouse. He was a dreamer, a thinker, and above all, a builder. His home was tucked beneath a bright green dune grass, close enough that he could hear the lullaby of waves every night as he drifted off to sleep. Marlowe loved the beach. He loved the feeling of soft, warm sand beneath his paws, the way the sun sparkled on the water, and the endless expanse of sky. But more than anything, he loved to build. While other mice scurried for snacks or napped in the shade, Marlowe would draw shapes in the sand, stack pebbles, and create tiny forts from driftwood and shells. One morning, as the sun rose and painted the world in hues of pink and gold, Marlowe had an idea. He wanted to build something special, something that would last, if only for a day. He decided he would build a sandcastle. Not just any sandcastle, but the grandest, most magical sandcastle a mouse had ever built. With his heart full of excitement, Marlowe scampered down the dune, his whiskers twitching with anticipation. The beach was quiet, except for the gentle shush of the waves and the distant calls of seagulls. He found the perfect spot, a gentle curve where the sand was smooth and damp, just right for shaping. Marlowe began by gathering materials. He searched for the finest grains of sand, the prettiest pebbles, and shells with swirls of lavender and pink. He found a feather, soft and white, and a piece of sea glass that glimmered in the sun. With his treasures in tow, he set to work. Building a sandcastle was not as easy as Marlowe had imagined. The first tower he tried to make crumbled as soon as he let go. The walls sagged, and the moat he dug filled with water, washing away the sand. Marlowe sat back, brushing sand from his whiskers, and watched as his work disappeared. But Marlowe was not a mouse who gave up easily. He remembered how the waves always returned, no matter how many times they rolled away. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool, salty air fill his lungs, and tried again. This time, he built the base wider and pressed the sand down firmly with his tiny paws. He worked slowly, shaping the towers carefully, and used shells to decorate the walls. He placed the feather atop the tallest tower as a flag, and the piece of sea glass in the center to catch the sunlight. As he worked, other animals began to notice. A curious crab scuttled over, his claws clicking with interest. A pair of sandpipers watched from a distance, their heads tilted in wonder. Even the seagulls circled above, their sharp eyes catching the sparkle of Marlowe's creation. The crab introduced himself as Crispin. "That's a fine-looking sandcastle you're building," Crispin said, his eyes gleaming. "But you know, every castle needs a moat. It keeps out the waves and makes it look grand." Marlowe smiled. "Would you help me dig it?" Crispin agreed, and together they dug a deep moat around the castle, piling the sand high to make sturdy walls. The sandpipers, named Pippa and Pip, offered to decorate the castle with seaweed and tiny flower petals they found along the shore. As the morning wore on, more animals joined in. A turtle named Tully helped by ferrying pebbles on his back, and a butterfly named Luna fluttered by, landing gently on the feather flag and making it look even more magical. Working together, the friends built a sandcastle unlike any the beach had ever seen. There were tall towers with shell windows, winding staircases made from carefully stacked stones, and a sparkling moat that glimmered in the sunlight. The castle's walls were decorated with patterns of seaweed and petals, and the sea glass in the center shone like a jewel. When they finished, everyone stepped back to admire their work. The sandcastle stood proud and tall, a testament to teamwork and imagination. Marlowe's heart swelled with pride and happiness. He had started with a dream, and with the help of his new friends, that dream had become a reality. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the tide began to creep in. Marlowe watched as tiny waves lapped at the edge of the moat. He knew that the sea would eventually reclaim the sandcastle, washing it away as surely as it had been built. But Marlowe was not sad. He understood that everything on the beach was part of a cycle, washed away, rebuilt, changed, and renewed. When the first wave finally touched the castle's wall, Marlowe and his friends cheered. They danced and laughed, celebrating the joy of creation, the beauty of working together, and the magic of the moment. That night, as Marlowe curled up in his cozy home beneath the dune grass, he listened to the sound of the waves. He remembered the castle, the laughter, and the friends he'd made. And as he drifted off to sleep, he dreamed of all the things he might build tomorrow. A boat, a bridge, or perhaps another castle, even grander than before. But most of all, Marlowe knew that the greatest treasure on the beach was not the sandcastle itself, but the friends who had helped him build it, and the memories they had created together. And so, in the land where the sun kissed the sea and the sand sparkled with possibility, the little mouse who built a sandcastle learned that dreams are best when shared, and every day is a new chance to build something wonderful. Now, as the story continues, imagine Marlowe waking up the next morning, the memory of the sandcastle still vivid in his mind. He stretched and yawned, feeling the warmth of sunlight streaming into his cozy home. Today, the beach was alive with the sounds of waves and the calls of his new friends. Marlowe scampered out to the shore and found Crispin the crab already at work, rearranging pebbles by the water's edge.
"Good morning, Marlowe," Crispin called. "Are you ready for another adventure?"
Marlowe grinned.
"Always."
Together they walked along the shoreline, talking about all the things they could build next. Pippa and Pip joined them, bringing news of a patch of colourful sea glass that had washed up overnight. Tully the turtle lumbered over, his shell shining in the sunlight, and Luna the butterfly fluttered gracefully above them. As they walked, Marlowe noticed something wonderful. Where their sandcastle had been, the sand was now covered in tiny shells and smooth stones, left behind by the waves. The beach was always changing, always offering new surprises. Inspired by the treasures they found, Marlowe and his friends decided to create a mosaic in the sand. They arranged the shells and stones in swirling patterns, making pictures of fish, birds, and even a tiny mouse with a feather flag. The mosaic glimmered in the sunlight, a new masterpiece for the day. Word of their creation spread along the shore, and soon more animals came to join them. A family of otters brought driftwood, a seagull offered a shiny coin, and a wise old heron shared stories of the sea. With each new friend, Marlowe learned something new. The otters showed him how to balance driftwood to make bridges and tunnels. The seagull taught him how to find the smoothest stones, and the heron shared tales of distant islands and hidden coves. Together, they built and created, each day bringing a new project, a new adventure. Sometimes their creations lasted only until the next high tide, but that never bothered Marlowe or his friends. They knew that the joy was in the making, the sharing, and the laughter. One afternoon, as the sun began to set and the sky turned shades of orange and purple, Marlowe sat with his friends and watched the waves. He felt a sense of peace and happiness, knowing that he was part of a community that cared for each other and their special place by the sea. He thought about all the creatures who had helped him, each bringing their own gifts and ideas. He realized that their differences made their creations even more beautiful, and that working together turned even the simplest project into something magical. As the stars began to twinkle above, Marlowe whispered a promise to the sea. "Tomorrow we'll build something new, and whatever we make, we'll make it together." And so the adventures continued. Each day brought new challenges and new joys. Sometimes the wind would blow their creations away, and sometimes the sea would wash them smooth. But Marlowe and his friends never lost their spirit. They learned that creativity had no limits, and that every ending was just a new beginning. On special days, Marlowe would find a quiet moment to sit by the water and remember the first sandcastle, the one that started it all. He would close his eyes and listen to the waves, feeling grateful for the friends he had found and the memories they had made. And deep in his heart, Marlowe knew that as long as he had imagination and friends to share it with, there would always be another castle to build, another story to tell, and another dream to chase beneath the endless sky. So, if ever you find yourself on a sandy beach, with the sun warming your back and the waves singing their song, remember the little mouse who built a sandcastle, and know that every grain of sand holds a story, waiting to be built by dreamers like you. The end.